My name's Jay Everett. I'm the technical director for Rottler. And today we're going to be discussing or talking about silverfish. What's the big deal with silverfish? Um, we're going to talk a little bit about identification. I'll show you a picture of what they kind of look like. We'll talk about some of the habits, where you find them in the house, and some of the hazards from this pest. I don't know if you know, but this thing can consume and chew on different types of clothing and even wall coverings and book bindings and things like that. And then we'll talk a little bit about control towards the end. So here's the little critter, the silverfish. It gets its name kind of by the scaly plates on it that are typically silver. It is a pretty unique insect in the fact that it doesn't have a metamorphosis, though. So some of your other insects, they lay an egg, it turns into a larva, kind of a wormy type of insect, and then it pupates, and then it turns into adult. Well, with this one here, basically she lays her egg, it develops, it pops out as just a juvenile, a young silverfish for that fact. Typically, it takes about 4 to 6 weeks for them to be potentially full grown. But, females, they lay upwards of 100 eggs in their lifetime. They generally live a little over a year. You can understand, obviously, how fast that population can kind of grow. So typically she just deposits those little eggs in cracks and crevices near a food source. And they have a pretty high success rate of hatching out for that fact. So where can you find them? They pretty much will be throughout the home. There are some areas that we find them quite often at Rottler, usually in the bathrooms, the attics, the basements near the heat source, and then out on the outside of the house as well, around the siding and actually the roof shakes. They typically like warmer temperatures too. So when you start thinking about, the parts of your house, like the sunny side of the house might be where the source of these insects are that, occasionally come in and invade the living space of your home. So you think about having cedar siding or cedar shake roofs. Those are really, really difficult homes to completely eradicate of this insect. Just because they get into all those small cracks and crevices, and obviously out on the roof, that roof will grow mold and fungus and things on it. That's a perfect food source for this pest to survive off of. So they do like a high level of relative humidity. So that 75 to 85% is kind of the optimal range for them. So you start thinking about what areas of the home, keep those kind of humidity levels. And obviously the bathroom, I have young teenagers that, take showers, it seems like for hours sometimes. And I wonder, what all the moisture is coming from. Obviously it's the shower. So we have an exhaust fan in the bathroom that's there by design to kind of remove some of that, relative humidity. That, and just that situation alone can really harbor and help keep a population of silverfish going in a home. So we find with some homes, the contractors get lazy and they don't vent that pipe all the way out of the house through a vent. They literally will just dump that tube up on top of the insulation up in the attic. And if that attic doesn't have adequate ventilation, that moisture stays there. Well, there again, those are all perfect environments for this insect to survive. So when it comes to silverfish as a season, we do get some seasonality. We've just gone through the stretch of, the heart of summer where we've been in the upper 90s, even close to 100 in some situations. And that drives them down into the structure. So phones start ringing a whole bunch here during these times because they're trying to search out a place that, isn't 140 degrees like your attic when it's 100 degrees outside. So your attic temperature will fluctuate between 40 and 50 degrees difference from the outside to the inside if it doesn't have good ventilation. So all things conducive to this pest doing really well in your home. Here's an example or a picture here. If you can see, you've got the deck boards here that's got then the tar paper or the water shield on it. Then you have these cedar shakes. You can see how there's a lot of opportunity for this insect to get down into the house. All this fungus and organic matter potentially that grows on there, and even the wood can have some starches and carbohydrates in it that are attractive to this insect. That's a large portion of why these can be really difficult situations to get rid of silverfish in. So as far as the hazards of this pest, they don't really transfer any disease or cause any health problems to humans, but they do chew on some of our expensive clothing. So you might have wool suits in there or some cashmere sweaters. All those wools are typically a keratin type of protein that comes from a hair, and that is a perfect food source for this insect. So if you're getting those sweaters out come this fall and you're finding these holes, it could be silverfish. There are a couple of other insects. There's some moths that'll do this, and some of your dermestid type beetles like carpet beetles and things like that, they'll do this damage as well. But it's definitely something you want to get under control. So but they can feed on a number of different things. Even as an example, they can feed on coffee, pet dander or pet hair, glue. And you think about, well, where's glue in my house? But if you have wallpaper, you can find them up along that top edge where that glue meets the ceiling. Those are popular areas for them to hang out. There's a lot of starch in the glue. Even paintings, some paper, some of the older paper that we find up in attics, they'll literally consume that and get all the nutrients they need from it. So just some hazards of this pest. As far as control, the first thing you can do as a homeowner, obviously make sure the humidity in the house is in that 50-degree range. Sometimes that's enough to keep this insect out of the living space. You can use dehumidifiers, make sure your attic has good ventilation, vents on the sides. They even have some that are thermostatically controlled. When the temperatures get so high, they kick on a fan. Those are great things to do in a home. Obviously, you can cover your clothing too by putting them in like garment bags that the insect can't gain access to your clothes with. So I know I've bought a couple suits in the last couple of years, and they're not getting any more inexpensive. They're actually going up in cost. And the last thing I want is one of these insects, feeding on one of my suits. So all of mine are in these type of garment bags. The other thing you can do is exclude them. So if you have a bathroom window where they come out underneath the window, caulking that up, sometimes that's the best form of pest control you can provide is exclusion. So keep them from gaining access down into the structure, and that goes a long way. If it comes down to actually making applications, the bottom line is there's some different formulations out there that work really well. I mentioned two here. There are liquids and there are aerosols that work as well, but I've found that the dusts seem to work the best because they'll fill those voids or those cracks and those crevices where they come out. And they even make some baits that you can put in there that are in powder form or granular form that work pretty well as controlling these. So just some things to do to help you with this pest out there. It's one that we're starting to see a lot more of. If you follow these simple steps, it'll hopefully give you a silverfish free environment. So with that, I thank you for attending today. Sarah, do we have any questions?
It doesn't look like we have any right now.
Okay. Well,
I'll leave that open for a second. If anybody has any questions, now's the time. Otherwise, we'll move along to signing up for the next one.
Yeah. Well, thank you for attending. You can always contact us here at Rottler if you have any questions. We do have another webinar coming up in September, on September 28th, talking about occasional invaders. Those are some of like the brown marmorated stink bugs, box elder bugs, cluster flies, and even Asian lady beetles. So those will be the ones I'll be talking about next month. Hopefully, we would love to see you on that call. So other than that, thank you for attending, and we look forward to seeing you again. Thank you.